Hello and welcome to another VERBUS Diablo. I am Camden Cornell and I am here to read to you from my book, Ars Granorum, The Succeed Arts of Witchcraft. Today I have chosen to read to you the introduction to the chapter Thaumaturgy. Though the word thaumaturgy may seem a little funny, it simply translates as wonder-working. Isaac Bonowitz, a neo-druid and theologist, defines it as using magic to actually change things in the physical world, which is exactly what witches do. Magic. Merriam-Webster defines magic as the use of means, such as charms and spells, believed to have supernatural power over natural forces. Though the edict definitions of authors of dictionaries and the emic ones of practitioners hardly ever coincide, most outside observers consider the practice of witchcraft a quaint primitivism, while witches and practitioners think of it as an art that allows a person the opportunity to be more active and participatory in creation, particularly in their own life. One of the most influential working definitions of magic is that of Aleister Crowley, who said, "Magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will," with later definitions being variations of this idea. One of my favorites is from Lisa Chamberlain, who says, "Magic is the art of consciously participating in the co-creative forces of the universe by directing the energies of nature to cause desired changes in one's life." Training the consciousness and preparing the spirit for taking part in the weaving of the world is the very basis of les arts mysticales, and the spells we use are part of our training. Casting them helps the witch learn not only how to work with the energies of spirits and to develop their own power, but also fortifies the soul, organizes the mind, and aligns one's essence to the windings and workings of the Via Tortuosa. True witchcraft is experienced, and only through working magic and performing spells can a person become fully a witch. That is not what everybody thinks. That's what I think. Within the seat of thaumaturgy are all the charms, incantations, enchantments, and hexes we use as witches to manipulate our reality. A spell, the overarching category of magical working, may be a simple written charm, a string of knots, a fabric pouch filled with hair and herbs, an incantation set over a candle lit with intention. There is an infinite amount of possibilities when it comes to spellcraft, with the only limitation being one's imagination. It is important to note that one operative style can be used for both beneficium and maleficium. Witches work with the full spectrum of magic, preferring to walk the crooked path between the worlds of healing and harming. Starhawk said, "Beware of organizations that proclaim their devotion to the light without embracing, bowing to the dark. For when they idealize half the world, they must devalue the rest." The world of the witch is neither all light nor all dark, not black and white, but a constantly shifting interplay of emotions and myriad colors that require our honesty and conviction to work with. On the twilight path, the witch has no more compunction against hexing than they do toward healing. Throughout the history of witchcraft and magic, worldwide, we see a slew of charms and magical items meant to bring malady to a target, such things as puppets stuck with needles, placed in vinegar, or nailed into a tiny coffin, strings of feathers and bones tied into knots, or charms made of crossed sticks left on the doorstep of an enemy. There are also thousands of charms meant to protect a person from maleficium, many more than any other kind of spell, which is proof enough that maleficium has been amply used. We must learn to think about our actions, though, and decide whether the act of hexing is ethical in each unique situation. Doreen Valiente, who wrote the Wiccan Rede of "And at harm none, do what you will," said that if you are a witch with the power to stop a person from doing harm against others, it is a moral imperative to do so. Helping people through beneficium is well and good, even essential, but being red of tooth and claw is part of who we are. There is no shame in using your fangs. No matter if the spell is meant as beneficium or maleficium, many magical traditions tend to have at least two commonalities at their core, an associative aspect and a venerative one. The associative aspect is described by the law of sympathy and imitation and the law of contagion. The first law states that when two things are alike in appearance or essence, they can influence each other, the idea that like affects like. If a thing can imitate the target of your magic closely enough, it will create a sympathetic link to the target and thus become a stand-in for that target. The second law states that if a thing has had close contact with another, they continue to have a link, and that a magical action performed on one part of the pair will influence the second part from a distance. One of the most perfect examples of the two in action is the poppet, which is made to look like the person the witch is targeting and then linked to that person's energy through personal effects, things like hair, mucus, blood, dirt from a footprint, a picture of the target, or even the person's name written on paper. Because it imitates and is infected by the energy of the target, it essentially becomes the target, and any magic worked on the item either to heal or harm will be worked on the target itself. This isn't the way of all magic, but most of the spells in the witch's arsenal, this description does well enough. The venerative part of folk magic comes from its roots in animistic belief, and in the belief in spirits of land and place, including the ability of a witch to contact the dead and speak to the ancestors. These beings are considered quite helpful and can be contacted in a multitude of ways, from simply saying hello to complicated rituals meant to bring their virtus, their spiritual power, into your spellcraft. Jim Baker, in The Cunning Man's Handbook, says unlike modern science, which limits itself to technological processes, magic has sought to utilize both matter and spiritual virtus in its quest for results. It is important for the witch not only to know what components a spell requires and how to perform it, but also to build relationships with spirits, both great and small, so that they are more willing to help with various tasks and lend us their strength. Magic is real, wild, and often unpredictable. We must grow and develop our power in order to control it better. But power in magic is through relationship with spirits. Remember, however, that power is never the goal, only a tool. Because imagination is the only limitation on your craft, a spell does not have to follow a particular formula to be effective. They often involve clearing and claiming sacred space, which can be more or less complicated depending on the witch's taste. They may include invocations of the elements and the ancestors, along with whichever spirit presences are desired, or a ritual for gathering in energy and riling the participants in the rite into a frenzy. A witch may choose to use tools, symbolic items to represent various aspects of the working, and offerings to share with those who come to help, either physical or spiritual. The spell can involve magical actions to be taken before and after the rite is performed, with some spells taking over a year to complete. The movement of the planets and the luminaries, the time of year, the day and the hour thereof can all be considered in an effort to make sure that the spell is at peak potency. Some spells will work no matter the timing, though some cultures have strict guidelines for preferable days of the week, sometimes a day or phases of the moon. Some spells will require no preparation and can be done on the fly. It really is entirely up to the witch. The best way to learn how to do spells is to perform them. Though a useful way of learning how to make an effective one is to take the spells you like the best from authors you respect and break them down into their component steps, trying to figure out the reasoning behind them. In magic, intention is paramount, and having a clear understanding and a concise intention for your spell work is the best way to achieve an outcome close to the one you desire. I have devised the following categories to help in clarifying exactly what your intention is with a spell and understanding the spell a bit more deeply. I trust you will find them useful and inspiring to your own creativity. And if you want to know what those categories are, then you can pledge to the Kickstarter and grab a copy of this here book. Currently on Kickstarter, the tier where you get the book is only $30, and you get stickers with it. Ba-ding-ding. If you pledge at a higher tier, then you can get things like Cariomancy kits and spell component kits and divinatory tools and like all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, pledge. It would be super swell of you to do so. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of VERBUS Diablo. It's been a real hoot. and I will see you next time.